decision makes men. Irrespective of anything you say, until you do that which you say you're going to do, you've not accomplished anything. The end always comes first. And the moment you know that the end always comes first, you learn the advantage of stepping back before you fix it. We have to get very, very clear on our definition of what is called done. For example, when you say that something is done, what do you mean? Right? And that usually leads to questions such as, what does your goal look like? If eventually you're done with this, what would you have done? There's this concept called funeral concept. Do I want people to say about me and the life I live at my 80th birthday? In the next few minutes, we just dive into the three hows of beginning with the end. What's the first step to actually solving a jigsaw puzzle, especially for those of us who played? I don't think it's in trying to look for the corner pieces, it's in trying to arrange the colors together or something like that. I don't think so. At least for me, what I try to do is when I get the jigsaw puzzle right, I try to step back a little bit, try to have an understanding of how the jigsaw puzzle currently is, and a frame of solution, right, that I can deploy. And it's after I've thought about those things that I can now start solving the jigsaw puzzle. It's just the same with life, right? The puzzle of life, puzzle of relationship, different things, different problems we have, challenges we have every day. But what most of us do is we just throw ourselves into it, and then we want to attempt to fix the problem right away. But that's not the optimal way. And what we'll be doing today is showing ourselves a principle that works from time immemorial. And the principle goes like this: the end always comes first. And the moment you know that the end always comes first, you learn the advantage of stepping back before you fix a solution. So there's actually this very popular book, and I would advise you to go read it. I think it's one of the books that has a major difference in my own life specifically. And it's Seven Habits of Effective People by Stephen Covey, right? And it describes something of this principle. And how it describes it is that there are two ways of creating things. There is the physical way of creating things, and there is the mental way of creating things. And the one that comes first is the mental way of creating things. Mental way of creating things just says that for example, you have a project, then you sit down to analyze the project, how it is going to be. You give it a pathway of solving in your head, and at least you have a mental way by which you want to solve it, right? And then is the physical way of creating things is you following that mental pathway of solution that you've created, and then you're going to create it like that. Now, this happens for all of us, right? Relationship, jobs, career, and all of that. You already say, okay, this is how I want this thing to go. This is how I want it structured. And then when you're living it out, you're trying as much as possible to say that, okay, this is what the mental blueprint with business, this was the mental blueprint with getting the job. And that's how it's meant to be. But is that how it is? It is not how it is, because most of us just you just do things straight. And what that does, it leads to wasted time. You're frustrated, you're hungry, and then most of the time we end up where we do not even intend to be, right? You say that you want to do this, but you're ending up here. And the reason for that is just that you never did a mental assessment of the problem, right? Which is not the way to do things. Because if you already understand that the end always comes first, then when you plan having the end in mind, then you already know how at least you want to solve the problem, how you want to approach the problem. In this video, I'm not just going to tell you why you need to begin with the end in mind, right? What I'm going to show you is the how, right? Because you know that you need to begin with the end in mind. So in the next few minutes, we'll just dive into the three hows of beginning with the end in mind. So before we go into the three hows, right, of beginning with the end in mind, I just want you to take a second, right, to just like and subscribe, right? And yeah, just to expand the reach of this channel. Thank you very much. So the first point is definition of your destination, right? You need to define your destination, right? And this is what I call the architect's blueprint, right? Before a single brick is laid for a skyscraper, a bungalow, whatever thing, those buildings have what is called a plan, a detailed blueprint of how they are meant to be built. And what that does is that every brick that is laid, every cement, everything that is done would eventually follow that pattern. And that minimizes the risk of mistake, it minimizes the risk of not doing something good. Because when you already created the blueprint, the physical manifestation or the building of the building of the building itself, right? The construction of the building itself just follows that particular blueprint. And that is how we are meant to architect our own lives, right? That's how we are meant to. to affect our own lives. And you see, we have to get very, very clear on our definition of what is called done. For example, when you say that something is done, what do you mean? Right? And that usually leads to questions such as, what do you want your goal? What does your goal look like? If eventually you are done with this, what would you have done? What would be the fruits of you being done? For example, and people have different definition of done, such as, when I'm done with this, I want to be happy. When I'm done with this, I want to be successful. I think it's actually deeper than that. It should be clearer than that. And it's about defining your own core value and something Stephen Covey calls defining your personal mission statement, right? For example, instead of saying I want to be rich, why don't you say that you want to build a life of financial freedom such that you can provide security for your family, and then you can have time to explore all of the passion that you want to explore. Remember our video, passion doesn't parent, right? This is the exact way to actually fulfill passion, to fix passion in the long run, right? And then instead of also saying that you just want to be a very successful business person, why don't you say that you want to start with this, do this kind of business, attract this kind of attract this number of customers per month, and then you can now find a way of defining your goals with clarity, right? You just do not want to define holo goals. You want to make them very, very specific. So when you define your specific goals, you've already defined your destination, and the way to begin with the end in mind is defining your destination. So the second point is actually called reverse engineer the path. And I call this the GPS method principle. I studied remote sensing in school, which makes me very accustomed to spatial awareness. And what that essentially means is this, right? When you have a destination, you can walk backward, right? For example, if you get on Google Maps and then you punch your location, Google Maps gives you a direction, right? It doesn't just go to that destination; it gives you a direction. So you know the number of turns, you know the number of twists it takes you to get to your destination. Now, in the same vein, let's say your goal is to become maybe one of the most recognized experts in your field. In 5 years, you're ready. Then, when you're walking back, what it looks like is, what do I need to do to become this? Do I need to publish a paper? Do I need to build my online content? Do I need to start a tutorial class? Do I need to teach on YouTube? Do I need to give a keynote speech? And when you walk backwards, the advantage that gives you is that instead of seeing one very big goal, then you can now break those goals into smaller pieces. Okay, I'm publishing paper this 3 months. That's what I'm going to be focused on. I'm writing this number of certifications. That's what I'm going to be focused on. And suddenly, the old giant thing looks very small. After you've defined your destination, the next thing is to reverse engineer. Walk back and then assess the things that you need to do. And then what that does is it breaks down everything for you, and then you can start fixing it one at a time. So the last point is use your compass. Now you define your destination, right? You're reverse engineering the path. Right now, you want to use this compass as a third thing, and that helps you make decisions. Don't forget, decision makes men. Right, irrespective of anything you say, until you do that which you say you're going to do, you've not accomplished anything. Right now, this compass just helps you make your decision. Right, so when a new opportunity comes up, you just don't ask if it's a good opportunity. It's that this opportunity, does it shift me closer to the blueprint I've designed? Does it push me to the goals that I have in mind? Does it push me towards that destination? We spoke at the first point. So if your goal is to be financially free, right, and then you want to have time for your family or something like that, and you know that it's going to take 80 hours currently, then you're going to ask, is this going to give me time for my family? If no, then you want to drop it to take something that's going to give you to do something that's going to give you more time. And then what it does, it guides your decision making, because your decision making now hangs on value systems. It hangs on your personal mission statement. I think one day we'll discuss how to build a core personal mission statement. So it makes decisions simple. It's not about willpower now, it's about alignment with your ultimate vision. So those are the three major hows to begin with the end in mind. Define your destination, which is pretty easy. Reverse engineer your path, which is dependent on your destination. Then use your compass. Let this help you make decisions. Now it's journal time, and I want you to journal down these three questions. Why? What do I want people to say about me and the life I lived at my 80th birthday? Right. There's this concept called the funeral concept, but we'll be discussing it some other day. But let's just think about it. This, in a way, helps you define your destination. The second one is, if I had unlimited time and money, what problem would I want to solve in the world? Right? This is just passion, and then it might help you point towards purpose. But don't forget, we've discussed about passion and we've discussed about purpose. Before you make your decision writing this down, I want you to watch both the video on purpose, which is stop searching for purpose, and the video on passion, which is that passion would not be your rent. Right? The third thing is, Looking back from that successful future, what is the single most important thing I did today to make it happen? What this does is it helps you to, it forces you to define your next immediate step, right? And when you do that, you know that you can now use the compass to decide what you're meant to do next. See, right? Your first step always is to start to do. But what I'm telling you to do today is step back from the problem, evaluate the problem, start with the destination, reverse engineer your path, and then use the compass to make wonderful decisions. Till we all win. Bye.